In this case, I'm here to try to discuss with Graham and to test his lost civilization hypothesis. He talked about this idea of a lost advanced civilization from the Ice Age, an advanced civilization that's around the globe, right? And in particular, he thinks there was a global cataclysm at that time, and the survivors introduced agriculture, architecture, astronomy, and arts to hunter-gatherers. And so I'm here doing a lot of research. I'm here to present what I see are two clear disproofs of a lost advanced Ice Age civilization. We need to look at the totality of evidence to understand what's there. And so, for example, he proposes the reason why the Ice Age civilization isn't there is because it's underwater. It's been, we've had 200 feet of sea level rise since the Younger Dryas, and therefore it's not accessible. And so I really want to focus on Ice Age coastlines, evidence from Ice Age coastlines and excavations, underwater evidence from the Ice Age, things like that, these areas where he says that archaeologists don't look. Most of what's underwater are lithic scatters of stone tools. And then my second thing I'd like to focus on is food. I am an archaeologist who studies ancient food. I'm an environmental archaeologist. I've studied millions of animal bones from the past. I've helped collect thousands and thousands of seeds like these, and it's something that people don't realize we can get. We've developed sampling methods, and we now at this point have millions of archaeobotanical remains, so seeds from ancient civilizations and ancient societies all over the world. And I want to sort of show you how we understand domestication as a process, and we can see where it happened in real time, in real space, the sort of evolution from a wild plant to a domestic plant, because that counters Graham's idea that the civilization introduced agriculture. We can date these seeds. So we can date that transition from domestic to, or from wild to domestic.
And what are the oldest seeds that you found?
Oh, the oldest seeds we have go back tens of thousands of years. The oldest domesticated crops we have go back about 11,000 years. There's a lot of reasons why there was no agriculture. When you're talking about the Ice Age, we have radiocarbon dates directly dated from 13,000 sites in Europe and Siberia. We have quite a bit of evidence of this ephemeral evidence for hunter-gatherers, if you see. I think what we can say is we can start pinpointing the starts of domestication and things like that. But I think that what this big data set that we now have shows is there is no linear trajectory to human culture. It's very different in different places. Even the very term civilization is something that everybody has a different definition for. And so I just want to end with a couple questions for Graham, if he's willing. At different times, he's described that civilization that he's looking for from 12,000 years ago, it was advanced as, say, our own civilization in the late 18th or early 19th century. And so, as an archaeologist, we study technology, we study the material remains of the past. And so I wonder what we're trying to look for, right? Graham has acknowledged that there's a good chance there's no metallurgy, for example, with this civilization. He said maybe a decision was made not to use metals. And I'd say we could definitively prove there was no large-scale metallurgy in the Ice Age. If you look at ice cores in the Arctic, right, we can track metallurgy of the Roman period, of medieval periods, based on lead emissions that end up in these ice cores. And there are no emissions from metallurgy in the Ice Age. So we can be sure that there's no global metallurgical civilization that's doing a lot of mining and smelting. Certainly they're not burning fossil fuels like they might be in the 18th or 19th century. So we know that could not have been around that. The thing is, at this point, we have something like 3 million shipwrecks from around the world. And so one of my questions for Graham is, if this is a global civilization with ships, why is it that we don't have shipwrecks from this global civilization? Oh. And so just underwater preservation is just freaky.
And is it, would it stay that way for 20,000 years, you think?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's this idea that things just decay the older they are, and that's really not true. It depends on the burial environment that they're in. I just wanted to end by saying, look, archaeologists, what we find is what we publish, right? We are not trying to keep stuff hidden. If I found Atlantis, I would publish Atlantis. Klaus Schmidt found Göbekli Tepe. He published Göbekli Tepe. And so I think that that's really important. We want to change and rewrite history. That's how we make a name for ourselves. Every article I have published and most of my colleagues have published is something that is adding and changing our picture of the past. We're not locked in on a specific narrative. What we're trying to do is update the picture of the past for each other, for our colleagues, and for people all around the world to sort of give a sense of, human culture and the diversity of it, the resilience of it, and how we've survived this long so that we can learn from it.